Hey guys, welcome in and a very happy Saturday to you now, the 15th of July. Welcome back, Major League Baseball. Plenty of action, maybe a doubleheader or two also on the card here today. So a lot of opportunities to cash those tickets before we all dive into the abyss known as football season. Loaded card here today. Drew Martin bets will be up first. Steve Merril right behind him, followed by Mr. CFL there. That would be Andrew McInnis hanging out with you. All have some games and opportunities for you to be able to cash a few tickets. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us here today. Let's do this and start off with the man who refuses to lose these days. One, Mr. Drew Martin in the house. And Drew crushed it last night here, man. Saw you on Wager Talk today, yesterday, breaking down the games. I know, in fact, there were a number of Yankee fans not pleased with your selection yesterday with Austin Gomber and the Colorado Rockies, but that proved to be quite profitable in your part there. So big night, and it's been a hell of a run for you, my man. What's going on?
Joe, always good to be on with you, buddy. And yeah, it's a happy Saturday morning off of a good Friday night, and that Colorado Rockies. Anytime you're knocking down plus 180 winners, that's a good thing for the pocketbook. So yeah, man. Hopefully a profitable second half. Working hard on these baseball plays, and got two more dogs for the show today. So thanks for having me, Joe.
Oh, I love it, Drew. Awesome stuff, man. Yeah, no, you killed it there last night. You had one of the best sayings, too, something along the lines like, go big or go. If you're going to take a swing, you might as well swing hard. And you certainly did with Colorado yesterday. So congrats there. But let's take a look at the card here today and see exactly one of these games that you're going to be looking at. So tee it up for us here. I believe you've got a couple of games here that you've got circled. What's up first?
Yeah, I guess we could go in order of first pitch here. So 4:00 Eastern time, we get Cleveland at Texas, and it was the Rangers that won yesterday's game. Actually got to the Guardians bullpen, which hasn't happened a lot this season, depending on what metrics you want to go off of. And I love handicapping bullpens. It's one of those things I go at the card and I handicap the bullpen first. And it's been a good thing the last couple of years. And you can make the argument this Guardians bullpen is the best in baseball. They got Gavin Williams on the hill. And if you haven't seen him pitch, this young kid is pretty good. He's a former first-round draft pick from 2021 in East Carolina, that good East Carolina team they had. He sits at 94, 95 miles per hour. He has given up 15 hits his last two starts, which is a little bit concerning. But I'm actually going to give him a pass because it was up against the Braves. We know how good that Braves lineup is. And he was seeing the Royals for the second time in a short turnaround. So I actually think this kid's a bet on. And going up against Andrew Raineri, he's had trouble here, Joe, the last couple starts. I know his numbers for the full season are good, but I'm kind of alarmed if you're looking to bet on him. I would watch out here. So I actually think Cleveland catching plus 140, risk 100 to win 140. And that's saying swing hard in case you hit it. It's not that big of an underdog, but it is there, plus 140 price tag. So I'm on Cleveland here at the 4:00 start, Joe.
Yeah, I always love those. I mean, listen, nobody needed the All-Star break quite like the Texas Rangers. I think they went into it losing 4 of 5. If you go back even further, they had struggled mightily, especially with runners in scoring position, but they didn't last night. You always like those teams to go, oh, really? You're going to drop 12 on us in the first game back? So Cleveland looking to bounce back here. Not a bad look at all early today. And then Oh boy, oh boy. I knew you were going to come this way. So let's talk about these Miami Marlins here, man, who unfortunately couldn't get it done last night against Baltimore. They get another crack at them here today, I believe. Garrett on the mound, what do you think we're going to get here with Baltimore and Miami part 2?
Well, yeah, Joe, and I kind of feel like a homer jumping on the Marlins here, but I'll tell you, Braxton Garrett, the lefty starter here, this guy has been money. He has not lost a game since early May, Joe, and the lefty, 24 strikeouts, just 1 walk in his last 4 starts. So each time when his rotation spot comes up, I am looking to bet on the Marlins, and it's not like he's getting these big, minus prices at all. Actually, the fish are going off as the underdog today. Plus 105 is widely available. Baltimore, not a team I'm looking to go against by any means, guys. I mean, this team is a profitable team on the season. They've been a profitable team for 2 years now. This has been a great bet, and actually the fish have been a good bet here. So it's kind of a good series to break down. But I will say this, the starting pitching edge, I do give the fish here with Braxton Garrett because Gibson, 11 earned runs in his last 7 innings pitched in Camden Yards. So if the fish can get to him, plus 105 price tag, I'd also give the Marlins slight bullpen advantage as well in the later innings. So, hey, it's slight dog here. I think the wrong team's favored and like the fish.
And if you would have told me that when Gibson at this point in the season be going for like 10 wins and I'd have laughed at you and be like, no, it ain't going to happen, man. This guy's going to head the wrong way. But he's actually had a decent season. But do not sleep on the fish. They seem to be one of those teams, Drew, and you've been following them and you've been on them all year long. Miami is one of those teams when you see that plus sign next to their name, you got to take a second look here a lot. There are some teams like that on this card, especially for the remainder of the season. If you can get them at plus money, you better be 100% sure that you're not betting them.
Yeah, great underdog bet for sure. And I guess up against the Braves, how good the Braves have been in the East, really outside of Atlanta, who they've really struggled with for a couple years now, Joe. 53 wins coming into the All-Star break. This is a team, with that plus price next to him, with the rise, that batting average that he has. And it's interesting that they go 1, Arise, and then 2, Soler, probably their best 2 hitters, go 1-2. You can make the argument, maybe drop Soler down in the lineup, but I kind of like that over the course of the season, getting your 2 best bats right there at the top of the lineup. And hey, it's worked so far. So I'm not looking to step in front of him by any means. The plus price with Garrett on the hill today, guys. Hey, I think it's worth a shot. Not a huge bet by any means, but if you need something on the Saturday night card here, 7:00 Eastern, great game too in Camden Yards. Great series overall. I did bite on the fish today, Joe. Yeah,
I'm with you, man. And he hasn't lost. Garrett hasn't lost, I believe, since May 8th. So he has been as steady as they come here. We've got a question here in the chat room. Welcome back here, guys. Hope you enjoyed that little break that you got here. A couple of days to kind of recharge the batteries and get ready. And Vegas, Gianni talking about Drew. Who are we high on in the second half of the season? Also, who do you see as maybe a potential buyer or seller coming up here? August 1st is the trade deadline, so that window of opportunity for teams to prove that they still have a little something left in the tank, that window is closing fast here, Drew. Who are you looking at?
Sure, Joe. I guess I could rattle off a couple here I have circled. First off, I want to say in the American League East, I mean, how great has this division been? It's probably the best division I can really remember, Joe. We got the Red Sox, I guess, tied with the Yankees at the bottom, 6 games over 500 for last place teams here. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And in terms of kind of buy on, I actually think the Red Sox are a buy on going forward. This team, I guess, Price is a last place team, and kind of even like going today, even money pretty much with Paxton, who's been good on the hill. I'll say the Toronto Blue Jays, I think if they hit their stride with that lineup, they could really be a moneymaker. I'm not looking to step in front of the Braves at all. This team, I would not be surprised if they win the World Series. That lineup is stacked. So, I mean, that's not going to really surprise anybody. If you want me to go off the radar a little bit, and it kind of correlates with what you were talking about on Wager Talk yesterday with my spot, How about this Colorado Rockies team? I mean, in the NL West, and you got to really kind of find them at the right time, guys. And it is with that plus price next to them. You know, if you risk 100, get those 180 on the kickback when they're at home. That's the thing. When you want to be betting on them, and when Gomber's on the hill, maybe look to bet on him as well, just pretty much because he's their best pitcher. And because at home, you know, this is a team with huge home road splits, guys. Talking about the Rockies, at home, they have been a profitable bet over the course of, 2, 4, 6 years back. And on the road, it's just something with their hitting, getting out of that elevation. They just don't hit the ball nearly as well. So I'd stay off of them on the road. So that's kind of like off the beaten path team, Joe, of maybe look to be betting on the Rockies at home. But yeah, the Blue Jays, the Marlins, the Braves, all teams I'm looking to be betting on in the second half.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year because there are some clubhouses that the excitement level is there, and there are some where, am I going to be playing here in another couple of weeks? And that's right. Always, those locker rooms tend to blow up rather quickly here in the second half. So some great opportunities for you guys right now. 23-8. 74%. Drew is just absolutely crushing it here, guys. He's got another 4% best bet up here today in Major League Baseball on his page over at WagerTalk. Drew, what else you got going on? Anything, you getting ready for football?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. Yeah, starting to. I mean, how many college football teams we got? A couple making the jump now. So going, team capsule by team capsule and doing as much research as possible. College football, NFL as well. And for MLB in the second half. And I guess the Vegas Gianni's question as well, I left one thing out. Joe, one situation I really like to bet on was in the second half of MLB, and you brought it up with the trade deadline, guys wanting to stay, or, are they staying, are they going? If a team gets like another team's closer and then puts them in that 7th inning or 8th inning role, sometimes I feel like that can kind of be undervalued in the betting marketplace, because you'll get these closers, and it's almost like you get 2 closers at the back end. I don't think the MLB odds makers have fully factored that in. So if a team does trade for another team's closer, I usually have that team circled as a little bit of a value play going forward, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, those dudes are all a few fries short of a Happy Meal anyway out there. I mean, how you can be out there and pick your ass for like 7 innings and then be like, all right, let's go, we're ready to go. But there's a difference between the 7th, 8th, and the guy responsible for closing out. There absolutely is. There's levels to that. And these guys are creatures of habit, Drew. You're spot on, man. And sometimes they ain't in that same role. It takes a little adjusting. So great stuff here, man. Listen, continue to crush it. I know you got that 4% best bet available now at your page. Best of luck with it over at WagerTalk.com. Drew, keep cashing them, man. We'll talk to you again during the week.
Always a pleasure, Joe. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Appreciate it. All right, much to get to here still. Andrew McInnis will be here in just a few. He's got the CFL locked up, guys. I don't know if you realize this, but the money is still cash is the same, even in the Canadian Football Leagues, the NFL. And he has been absolutely on fire here. Nobody knows it better than he does. He's got to play for us. He's going to drop some knowledge coming up. But first, our man, Steve R1L Merril on a Saturday in the house, ready to go here, Merril, and amongst other things. Nice to have a little time off there, a couple of days, kind of recharge the batteries, kind of take a step back. Never a bad idea this time of year, because the calm before the storm here, my man. I know you're getting ready for college football, NFL. We're going to be out in Vegas here in a couple of weeks. But what else you got going on right now at WagerTalk? What have you been doing?
Well, first, I've got some math for you. I've got some currency exchange math for you. Canadian football cash is even better, because right now it's 1.32 Canadian dollars for $1 US dollar. So you're getting a 30% extra return by winning. Because I do believe that's how it works. They pay you back in Canadian dollars, just a little bit of a buyer beware thing.
Love that.
That's Andrew McInnis, as good as they come. But yeah, hey, look, and I think Ralph pointed this out yesterday, Joe, that it was 20, now we're 19 days away from the start of the NFL. 19 days away. 3 Thursdays, the preseason begins. It is crazy. And we're like 40 some days from real college football games. So let's build some money with the bankroll here. It's technically the second half of the baseball season now that the All-Star game's done, but we're about 90 games in, so there's about 70 to go. And I think we're starting to get some good information to work with the rest of the way.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, let's kick it off here. Major League Baseball back in effect here today. You've got a couple of games circled for us here, and I believe the first one we're going to talk about, we're going to travel out west here and talk about Minnesota taking on the Oakland Athletics, which, let's be realistic, is always a bit of a head scratcher there, Merrill. With Oakland, who can't get to Vegas fast enough here. Lopez, I guess, against Harris here. Harris, the lefty, the young guy here. What are you thinking in this matchup, man? Who are you looking at?
Yeah, we probably didn't need 90 games to know this, but it's definitely pretty solid at this point that the Oakland A's are one of the worst teams in the history of baseball. And they went on that little, 7-game win streak about a month ago. They were historically awful before. They've been historically awful since. So I'm not going to look for them to reverse. And Ralph Michaels and I did some Baseball 2.0 handicapping videos a couple weeks ago, and we talked about teams in the second half that have been really bad heading into July, the first 3 months of the season. And more times than not, they continue to lose money. So my point is, don't think that you're all of a sudden going to get value with Oakland because they're going down as one of the worst teams in history. Now, the problem, though, as you know, Joe, is like when you get these $2 plus lines, you're getting a 50, 60 cent split. So you could probably make an argument you're not making money playing the other side either at minus 260, minus 280. But I do think the run line is appealing in these games. And I will continue to look to fade Oakland whenever possible using that run line, because when they lose, as is the case with most bad teams, they lose by margin. Now, that was not the case last night. They only lost 5-4, and I think because of that, in fact, they've lost 2 games by 1 run last Sunday and now here. And because of that, I actually think this line's a little cheap, and I have no problem jumping back in and fading the A's here after a close loss. You look at their 3 losses before those 2 one-run losses. They lost by a combined 26-6 the 3 games before that. And I think they lose by at least 2 or more tonight against a Minnesota team that's in that god-awful Central Division, but they're now in first place. Cleveland lost last night, Minnesota won. So now the Twins are half a game ahead at 500. And as Drew mentioned, the Red Sox would be 3 games ahead of the Twins in first place in the Central, and they're dead last in the East. But it is what it is. And by the way, Minnesota is the only team with a plus run differential in that division. They're plus 28. Cleveland's minus 15. Everyone else is minus 76 or worse. So the Twins are probably the team to beat in the division. The future odds say that. Even a half a game back yesterday, I mentioned on Wager Talk today that the Twins were even money to win that division over Cleveland, who was plus money. So I think we get a hungry Minnesota team, a better team here, and I have no problem fading the A's whenever possible.
It's hard for me to swallow the fact that Joey Gallo is actually having an impact on this team is just beyond me, Merrill. It really does make me nauseous on so many different levels here. All right, so we got from the bottom of the American League West to, possibly the top of the Central. We'll head to the top of the American League East. And for how long, we don't know. As Tampa Bay getting ready, doubleheader, I believe. They couldn't get it going yesterday out in Kansas City because of the weather. They're going to try to get first pitch here in a couple of hours and play a doubleheader. What are you thinking about with this one? Again, first place, last place situation here.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay got off to one of the best starts in baseball history, and now they're just 1.5 games ahead of those Baltimore Orioles that you just talked about. So, I mean, that AL East is just stacked. But this is still a really good Tampa team, and despite losing 7 of their last 10 games before the break, they're still 23 games above 500. So I actually think the All-Star break came at a perfect time for Tampa Bay, a team that's a really good team, was not in good current form. And as with buys in the NFL or college football, I always say the bye week is kind of a contrarian indicator. It's a momentum reversal. And I think obviously the 4 days off for the All-Star break is basically the bye in baseball. So I think that came at a perfect time for Tampa. And we talked about Oakland. I had to talk about Kansas City. The best friend of the Kansas City Royals this year has been the Oakland A's, because Kansas City's on pace right now to be one of the 5 worst teams in the history of baseball. And they're not going to even be the worst team this season. It's going to be Oakland most likely. With that said, though, right now Kansas City is only 2 games ahead of Oakland for the worst record. So this is a really bad Royals team. They've won only 28.5% of their games this season. And even in that AL Central, where the Twins are 500 and leading the division, as I said, they're still 19.5 games back. I mean, that's how bad Kansas City is. So, yeah, we'll look to fade them whenever possible. And we actually get to use an angle, which we talked about yesterday, because, as you said, game was rained out last night. And Ralph Michaels and I once again brought this up in our video a few weeks ago. Ralph revisited it yesterday on Wager Talk today. And going back to 2016, going into last night, if you just blindly play against home dogs after the All-Star break, you've gone 24-8. So that's an angle that applies here because Kansas City did not play last night. And I think they'll be distracted being at home still. They have no home field advantage. Once again, though, not looking to lay the huge numbers. So we're going to have to play the run line. Game one is -1.5, -165. We do get a cheaper price in game two tonight at 7 Eastern, -1.5, -135. But I think that situation probably will work a little bit better in game one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Tampa going to try to hold on, see if they can't continue to separate themselves a little bit in that division. They got to win games like this if they're going to go ahead and do that. And we do have, Merril, a couple of questions in the chat room here. And thank you guys very much. Big Dog back in the house. Always a pleasure to see you. And he wants to know about there being any such thing as maybe fading certain players coming off the All-Star break. And I think this kind of goes back to what Drew and I were talking about, where there are some clubhouses, Merril, right now where there are a lot of guys going, they don't know if they're going to be here in a couple of weeks. And, you know, they got wives, they got girlfriends, they got kids. It's a trying time for a lot of guys this time of year, especially with those middling teams. And they don't know if they're going to be there, if they got to pick up and move. So some of those guys, yeah, if you can identify the clubhouses.
Yeah, and obviously with pitchers, as you know, I mean, the starting pitcher makes up a large majority of the betting lines, right? So if you think there's a pitcher who's maybe a little distracted, you could definitely find an edge there. As far as position players, you know, if it's a key guy in the offensive lineup, maybe you look at some unders, maybe you fade that team in general. But one nice thing about the modern sports betting market is we have all these player props, right? So you could isolate single players that you maybe want to fade. But I'd be careful. I'd wait to see that it comes into play because a lot of times these guys know they're on the market. They want to get to a better team. That sparks them sometimes, especially pitchers. I've seen that before. So there's two ways to look at it. I kind of take a wait and see approach. I'll take a different angle on it, though, and I touched on this yesterday on Wager Talk today, and that's about fading the guys in the home run derby. And I know you're a baseball guy, Joe, and you probably cringe as well watching those guys swing like that for 3 minutes on Monday night. I said yesterday I was so happy to see Mookie go out early because I'm a Mookie Betts fan. He never should have been in the derby to start with, and he actually did not. He even said afterwards he didn't practice any. He didn't call the timeout. He went 3 minutes. He was done. So I think Mookie will be okay. And to be honest, those other guys like Rodriguez, Guerrero, you know, those guys swing like that anyway, especially Guerrero. His father had a wild swing also. Rodriguez is the guy I would watch, though, because he's extremely young. He was in his home park in Seattle. He broke a record with 41 in that first round and then didn't even didn't make the finals in. And that makes a lot of sense, by the way, because you just have nothing left. Rodriguez would be the guy I'd be very careful with. Maybe look to fade him on some player props here in the near future.
Yeah, I got to listen, man. Everything hurt just watching them swing that hard. But I thought
I pulled in a blink also. I was like, whoo! Well, the guy for the Orioles switch hit, which is so awesome because that evens it out, man. I was just like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. He had no chance. But yeah, I pulled a couple muscles watching it as well, Joe.
Rauchman is, I hate I wish they can figure out a better thing with a dude hitting 27 home runs in the first round that doesn't advance is kind of ridiculous to me. But, the young guys are good. I thought Betts said it perfectly when he said, yeah, I had a good time, but man, this ain't for me. Like this whole thing ain't good for me here. He did hit 11 home runs, which is more than I thought he would, to tell you the truth.
5'9", man. He is unbelievable, though. But the funny thing is, Joe, most of his other hits were like line drives, which were better than all the other hits in the contest. You should get like bonus points for that.
Yeah. Maybe you ought to put it on a tee next year, and let's see how many guys can hit it out on a tee. Then we're talking real home run contest.
Like
we got another question here coming in the chat room here, guys, and don't forget Andrew McInnis coming up. He's got a CFL breakdown for you coming in the Canadian Football League, guys, and nobody, and I mean nobody, cashes more tickets in the Canadian Football League than Andrew does. He'll be here in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, Merril, what do you think is the ninth wonder? Love it. Wants to know, what do you think about the Guardians and the Rangers game going over? Easy winner yesterday, of course, when your team scores 12 runs, obviously. But what are you thinking here today in this one with the Guardians and the Rangers? Another over, or 9 is what I'm seeing here? Or are you thinking an under in play?
You know, I love tangents and useless information, but I got to chime in because when Andy Lang yesterday was talking about the beauty of compound interest, I kept forgetting to mention that Albert Einstein said that compound interest was the 8th wonder of the world. So now we got 9th wonder. That just came in. It's all coming full circle here on Wager Talk TV. But hey, look, the Rangers, as you all know by now, were a play-on team for me when the season began. I thought the rule changes were going to benefit them more than any club. First of all, they were a good base stealing team. I thought the pitch clock, bigger bases would help. But what really was going to help this lineup was no more shift, because the shift drastically hurt left-handed hitters the last few seasons. About over 50% of the time, left-handers in general were shifted on, and the Rangers had one of the best left-handed dominant lineups, and they've exploded this year. And, Joe, we would have all thought, well, Jacob deGrom's having a Cy Young season when the Rangers are 53 and 39 at this point, and he hasn't even pitched. Dunning, some other guys have just been incredible. With that said, though, this is a really good offensive team, and I'm never looking to fade them. And they do face a righty tonight, so that left-handed lineup should be good. So I think Texas will probably get some runs here. As far as the two starters in general, nothing special. They both have ERAs over 4 this season. I do think Williams, though, is a little bit better than his ERA, is a 1.09 whip. And I like whip better than ERA. So I do think going forward, Williams is a little bit of an underrated pitcher for Cleveland. And that's one of the reasons they might have a chance to pass the Twins in that awful AL Central division.
Yeah, he did get his first win, guys, last time out, but that was against that AAA team, the Kansas City Royals. I believe 3 hits, 8 hits, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, 5 2/3. This is going to be a little bit of a different animal. Also, keep in mind, Bieber went to get an MRI, and from the sound of Francona yesterday, he doesn't sound optimistic, and he even flat out and said it, if this is going to become even harder for us if Bieber's going to miss starts. So apparently the arm giving him a bit of an issue there. So the MRI was taken, no results just yet, but keep an eye. He's scheduled to go Monday against Pittsburgh, but I doubt very much he's going to be in that rotation. Merril, tell the fine folks what you got locked, loaded, ready to roll here on a Saturday at your page at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, actually finalizing our best bets as we speak. And, last night was one of those nights. We missed the 2 best bets, and the free plays on the TV show on the site went 3-0. It was just one of those nights like the near miss games I left off hit. But I went back and checked because I knew the free plays have been doing well. And I'm a quality over quantity guy. I put up 1 or 2 best bets, and the free plays for that region are very strong. Their last cuts that probably could be best bets a lot of times. Free plays are now 9-1 on the website, the last 10, 15-5 the last 20, and 20-7 going back to the beginning of June. So, hey, look, even if you're building your bankroll, if you're a small player, check out the free plays on my page and everywhere else at WagerTalk.com. on a daily basis. But once again, best bets have been great as well. Having a fantastic season. All sports in general over the past year plus, up over 118 units of profit. Football 3 weeks away. Not a bad time to pick up an all sports, all access. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
All right, love it, Merril. Thank you so much. Get out of here. Cash those tickets. We'll talk to you again during the week, of course, there. And, guys, we got plenty of action here today. I know there's UFC going on, still maybe a match or 2 in Wimbledon. And, of course, Major League Baseball. Let us not forget the CFL. And nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, cashing more tickets than our man Andrew McInnis joining us here, man. Thanks, Andrew, for hopping on here. I love these sports and these opportunities to be able to cash tickets. The WNBA, for one, is one of them. The CFL, they're not mainstream. A lot of people don't really spent a whole lot of time, but the edges are crazy. We had guys that are cashing tickets left and right in summer league basketball. And listen, the edge is real. The money is real, and you've been killing it, my man. So congratulations on another great CFL season thus far.
Joe, I appreciate the warm welcome. Great to be here with you, my friend. And you're right. I'll tell you what, though. People are kind of getting behind the CFL. I think that I'm seeing more bettors get behind it and starting to gravitate to this league. But the line movement is unbelievable. I always stress this and talk about it to everybody. Like, this is one of those leagues where if you want to get behind me and you want to get my plays, you're better off getting the all access pass, because the numbers that are there the day of the game are not the same numbers that were there with the openers. And these opening numbers, Joe, it is ridiculous. But it's been a fun season so far, and hopefully we can keep on rolling.
All right, I love it here. And, of course, you can always visit his page, WagerTalk.com. Guys, make sure you head over there and take a look at what Andrew's got going on, because, listen, he continues to cash tickets in this league. And you got a game coming up here, I believe, one that you've got circled. I know you talked a little bit about it during the week on your CFL show. In fact, to and out there, you, Rob Braley, Carmine Bianco, you guys do a great job each and every week getting people caught up with what's going on in the CFL. And take a look ahead. This was one of the games that you might have had circled. So break it down for us.
Joe, we're at the point of the season now where I think you realize which team's record actually truly speaks to what kind of team they are, and which team's record might not be actually what they are. And I feel like this game between Calgary and Saskatchewan is a perfect example of a Calgary team that, is probably underachieving so far, and a Saskatchewan Rough Rider team that is overachieving on the season so far. These teams met just 2 weeks ago, and Calgary had the lead going into the fourth quarter. They blow that lead and lose in double overtime. But things have been rough for them in their schedule. They've played some really tough teams. You take a look at their schedule starting off against BC. They have seen Winnipeg and, of course, the very Rough Riders I just spoke about. When you take a look at Saskatchewan, they've played 2 games against the Edmonton Elks that just lost their 20 straight home games. I mean, that is despicable. It's awful. They should be relegated to a league somehow below the CFL. This is a team that nobody should be proud of defeating. And really, that's where the Saskatchewan Rough Riders have done their best work. When you take a look at what they did against Winnipeg, they gave up a ton of points. I'm talking 40 points. This is a Saskatchewan team that lived and died by their defense over the past few seasons, Joe. And that defense is just not there anymore. Because if you look at the numbers, you look at the season average numbers, it's going to look like they have a good defense. But like I said, it's because that average is giving you two games of them playing the worst team in the league by a mile. So this is an example, I think, of a team that is just big time overachieving against a Calgary team that their record does not speak to what they're able to do. And I'm looking at a prop as well on Dendrick Mills. Over on his rushing, shop around, try and get the best number you can. He's coming off a 100-yard effort last week and a losing effort as well for his team. I believe Calgary will simplify their offense, try and make things easy for quarterback Jake Mayer. They're getting healthier. They got their key receivers back, but they need to establish the run game. I'm a huge quotes guy in the CFL. Some leagues, I feel like you just get a lot of BS quotes, like in the NFL or NHL. You don't know what these coaches are telling you, Joe. They're making things up. They're trying to deceive you. In the CFL, I always read between the lines, and it sounds like we are going to see a lot of running from Calgary. If they can win the battle of the trenches, they will be successful in this game. So I'm going to take a look at the Calgary Stampeders. It was plus 1.5 when I sent the pick in to you guys here earlier this morning, now down to PK. So I feel like that we're on the right page, and hopefully we can cash a ticket today in the CFL. And a reminder, early action today in the CFL as well, 4:00 Eastern time.
Yep. And we got a question coming in talking about that, this line movement that's just come in. And it looks like, Calgary, the more desperate team, says Jerbaki here, but the line move has him a little bit nervous. He wanted to know about maybe a first half Calgary, maybe putting it together with another play. The line movement is coming here. What are you thinking?
Joe, I over the past few years, line movement has been pretty accurate. Like whatever way the money's coming in, usually it's been pretty sharp. This season, I will say that it's been quite the opposite. Whichever way the money's coming in, that team, I remember when BC and Toronto played each other. That was like the game of the season so far. Money continues to come in on BC, and Toronto wins outright in that game. But in this scenario, I think that it is a proper line move. I feel like it's sharp. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, let's just take a look here. I mean, they beat the Elks 12-11. Yes, that's right. That's a football score. Then they gave up 26 points to Calgary 2 weeks ago, and they gave up 45 points to the Blue Bombers. And then their first game in the season was against the Elks that I keep on ripping on. So when you look at, let's take away the Elks for a second, the 2 games that they've played, they gave up 45 points and 26 points. Saskatchewan is a team that I think they have a really leaky defense. They're not the same team they once were. And realistically, Joe, I think this number shouldn't, if we looked ahead at look-ahead lines, like in the NFL, you know how there's lines available for every single game before the year even starts? We're talking about I think a -3.5 in favor of Calgary here. But because of what people have seen so far on the season, we're getting this number. And I should note as well, I do have the season win total over for Calgary and season win total under for Saskatchewan. So this is a big game for me in many ways, but hard to argue with the question there with the first half because Calgary has been blowing some leads.
All right, I can see the beads of sweat dropping down your face here. We do have, let's see if you can argue with this question. I believe our man Ghosted wants to know, hey, listen, is there an all-star game weekend for the CFL? Does it consist of maybe playing a scrimmage game of hockey, maybe some foot races against some moose? What is the situation at the break for the CFL?
There's no break. There is no break. I'd love to see something involving a moose, though. That would be nice. But I'll tell you what, Joe.
Outstanding.
Not that there's that, not that there's that much, money coming in on the CFL. Like Dave Sherpin always says, the books aren't worried about the action they're getting. But the best time to bet the CFL, I think, is once college football and NFL come around the corner. Because then there's literally no attention on the CFL anymore. Their movement isn't, happening as much. And, I'll still be here, guys. Look, I'm pumped for college football. I know you're delivering winners in college football, Joe. I can't wait for the NFL, do the Prop It Up show with the guys. But I'll still be betting the CFL through 21 weeks. It's a long season. So once college football rolls around, guys, do not forget about the CFL. We're going to cash some tickets.
Yeah, and guys, I'm telling you right now, if you're new to the CFL, Andrew and Kelly did a fantastic video getting you all set up before the season started on what it is that you guys need to know. Make sure you check that out here on the Wager Talk YouTube page. Great information there. Go ahead and check this video out, guys, because it kind of lays it all out for you, and he points you in the right direction. There is money to be made in the CFL. And Andrew, anything coming up here today? I know there's UFC. I know there's some stuff going on this weekend. You got anything going on over at your page at Wager Talk?
A little bit of UFC, Joe. No big bets, but we got some 2% plays. So a great day for a day pass. Fresh off a 2-0 small sweep there in the MLB when it returned last night. And look, it's always a good night when you fade Ohtani and have success. I never thought I'd be doing that with confidence, but that was nice to cash a plus money ticket. So great day to grab a day pass for me over at WagerTalk.com. We got some small UFC plays. We got CFL, and we're involved in the MLB. And I'll tell you, for the most part, Joe, I'm sticking with the team totals. Yesterday was mostly, I had one money line and one team total play, but really trying to protect the bankroll, turning that big minus 135, 140, whatever it might be, into a plus price sometimes with that team total has been really helpful for me protecting that bankroll.
Yeah, well, it's a 162-game grind, guys. It is unlike any other sport that there is. So pace, right? Pace yourself, and you're certainly, it changes over a 162-game season on how you approach it. But ultimately, it's about building that bankroll for football season, which is just around the corner. Andrew, always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for hanging out with us. Best of luck with the plays here today. We'll talk to you again during the week.
Great to see you, Joe. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Guys, don't forget, check it out during the week, the CFL show, 2 and Out. Rob Braley, Andrew, and, of course, Carmine Bianco there Great information each and every week, getting you caught up with what's going on in the CFL. But definitely check out the video with him and Kelly there, laying it out and kind of walking you through everything you need to know about betting on the CFL. All right, that'll do it for us this week. Kelly will be back next week there. And then, of course, we've got plenty more to come here during the week. So hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. And then make plans to come back and join us again next week. On behalf of Andrew there, Steve Merril, and Drew Martin Betts, guys, make sure you visit WagerTalk.com. Partner up with these guys this weekend. Cash a few tickets. And don't forget, make sure you hit that video here. Get all caught up on everything you need to know in the CFL. Until next week, guys, best of luck. We'll talk to you again soon.